Hello again, this is Dr. Kalam, and we're going to finish off week five's, module five's brief lectures by talking about information on learning objectives out of chapter 12. So the first one is talking about individual employee incentives, and we're going to discuss the main incentives for individual employees. And we're also going to discuss and describe the main incentives for managers and executives. So we're going to look at the cadre of things that employers can incentivize all levels of employees in their organizations. So let's move on to discuss individual employee incentives for a minute. So individual employee incentive programs and recognition programs include things like piecework. Piecework involves paying workers a sum of money, compensation for performing tasks in a very automated fashion. Each unit, for example, that an employee produces is accompanied by a particular dollar amount. Straight piecework entails strict proportionality between results and rewards, regardless of the output. So that means that regardless of how fast a person or slowly a person reaches or produces X amount of widgets, the pay rate per widget remains the same. Or not rate, the pay per widget remains the same. And it comes with a standard hour plan. The worker gets premium equal to the percent by which his or her performance exceeds standards. Is also included in this piecework. So if 1,000 widgets per day is established, and the employee produces 1,500. Wow, that's a big, 50% more. There might be incentives associated with that extra production. A higher piece rate might apply for anything over the required amount. So, and there's another incentive for employees, which is looking at merit pay. So merit pay simply is any salary that increases and is awarded to an employee based on his or her individual performance. So unlike piece pay, it's in the form of a bonus that is usually becomes part of the employee's base salary, and it's a one-time payment. Incentives for professional employees. So this is another area that we recognition incentive programs. So professional employees are those whose work might involve the application of learned knowledge to the solution of some employer problems. Lawyers fall in this category, doctors, economists, engineers. Professors don't fall in that category, unfortunately, but making incentive pay decisions for professional employees can be challenging because such employees are usually paid well anyway. So non-financial and recognition-based awards are important to understand as well. So recognition programs can vary and usually refer to formal programs such as Employee of the Month programs. Social recognition programs are also a more influential or informal manager-employee exchange, praise and approval, which are intangibles that are very important in an organization. When we talk about motivation and satisfaction, we must include the intangibles of praise and approvals. So and performance feedback is similar, but provides measurable quantitative, qualitative information on performance. in order to change performance or maintain it. Most employers combine both financial and non-financial incentives to motivate employees in different ways. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about incentives for managers and executives in an organization. So Learning Outcome 12.4 discusses how strategy in the executive's long-term and total rewards package includes things that HR practices have a profound and obvious impact on strategic success of an organization or the company's long-term incentives. Those reward packages for those executives and managers are a crucial part of that strategy, HR strategy. So in creating the compensation package, leaders should first define the strategic context for the executive compensation program, which should include internal, external issues, benchmarking, industry position, and so forth, and then the firm's business objectives. So next, shape each component of that executive compensation package based on the organization's strategic aims, and then try to group them or group the components into a balanced plan that makes sense in terms of those particular aims. We also need to create stock options, maybe. You can create stock options that plans that give executive compensation packages, sparse and are very common. It needs to meet the unique needs of the executive, the company, and the firm's strategy. So it can't be offering stock options can't be in isolation. It has to consider the entire picture. You also need to check the executive compensation plan for compliance with all legal and regulatory. We don't want to encroach upon, for example, taxation issues and so forth. And finally, install a process for interviewing and evaluating the executive compensation plan whenever a major business change occurs. So it needs to be under constant review. It can be very fruitful, it can be very costly, it can be risky for both parties. And 5-year cycles, 3-year cycles are good for these types of reviews of those specialized executive plans. Other aspects of executive plans include short-term incentives, such as annual bonuses and so forth, which are aimed at motivating short-term performance, special projects, meeting certain deadlines in a short period of time, for example. Individual awards are interesting concepts with executive pay plans. And they're typically a target bonus as well as a maximum amount bonus is something to consider here. It's a set, and it really is a set target or bonus for each eligible person or position at the actual reward, and make sure the actual rewards kind of reflect the person's performance. So performance has to be at the center of the individual awards plan. Okay, we've talked about stock options. We've talked about other types of stock options include appreciation rights permit the recipient to exercise the stock option, different times when they can exercise. Is it when they leave? Is it at certain periods of time during the firms they fixed during a tenure of an employee? And then we need to talk about ethics and incentives. And these are pretty simplistic financial-based, financial performance-oriented incentives. And these are in the absence of strong ethical standards, which may breed unethical behavior. So to foster ethical cultures, we look at embedding ethics into a plan. Okay, so we've kind of covered that, and we'll certainly go over especially these two outcomes in more detail in week 5 in our discussions. So stay tuned. We finish week 5. We're going to move to week 6, and see you then.